Science fiction can be full of pessimism, a warning about how everything can go wrong. The world depicted in Blade Runner and Terminator shows this. Both are stories about the flaws and imperfection of society and about what happens when those flaws are left unchecked, where humanity's problems worsen with time and the development of new technology. There's a fear that as we head towards the future, we lose our humanity. Blade Runner shows a city where people are so focused on surviving they can't be bothered with helping others. In Terminator, we see the machines, Skynet, and the Terminator it creates lack any sense of humanity despite their appearance.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
The city of Los Angeles serves as a backdrop for both of these movies. In Terminator, we see the city before and during war. There's a sense of optimism and normalcy during the day as we see familiar LA landmarks like the LA River and a playground by Elysian Park. That is until Skynet happens, when the city is plunged into eternal night. Then in Blade Runner, almost all of old LA is gone, replaced by new buildings, except for a few places, like the Bradbury Building. In both series, the future is depicted with a fatalist mentality, that war and destruction are destined to happen. In Terminator, we see this through the way Skynet seems unavoidable. It can't be prevented, only prepared for. In Blade Runner, LA has suffered war after war, but it's still surviving, if only barely. There's a certain feeling of apathy and uncaring that surrounds the city, that despite the crowded streets, our characters feel alone, isolated. It's a city where cries for help are ignored, where murderous cyborgs are mistaken for human, and replicants wanting love are called inhuman, where officers of the law learn to care, or at least pretend to. James Cameron has a disdain for cops, if it wasn't obvious from the T-1000. This animosity is also shown in how useless cops are in dealing with the first T-800, and in how they stand in the way of stopping Skynet. Then again, bad law enforcement is just a part of the neo-noir genre. The Blade Runners are tasked to kill off replicants, just because they want freedom. And then there's the Madam, who tries to hide the fact that replicants can reproduce, because if it becomes known, what's the difference between a replicant and a human?
So what you saw didn't happen.
Humans feared that we will one day destroy ourselves, or that we'll replace ourselves with something better. This fear is realized through Skynet, the man-made machine that's destined to wipe out most of humanity, and even more so through the replicants, artificial beings created as tools, but over time grew closer and closer to humans.
Dreadfully distinct.
And dreadfully distinct.
Against the dark.
Against the dark.
A tall white fountain blade.
A tall white fountain blade.
You're not even close to baseline.
More human than human is our motto. Nothing more.
We began to recognize in them a strange obsession. After all, they are emotionally inexperienced with only a few years in which to store up the experiences which you and I take for granted.
If someone thinks that they have emotions, how do we know if they're lying or not? How do we know if they're genuine? Does it even matter?
I know now why you cry. But it's something I can never do.
Regardless of whether these androids have emotions, we see ourselves in them. While people in universe have trouble caring about the replicants, the audience can't help but relate to them. When Joy comforts Kay and tells him he's special, Kay takes that as love. When a T-800 protects John, Sarah distrusts it, even though its programming makes it impossible for him to harm John. She doesn't change her mind about the machine until later, when it gives up its own life to save them both. The Terminators and the replicants show off the best and worst of mankind. Our ability to cause war and suffering, but also our will to fight for what we believe in. These androids are capable of empathy and deserve ours in turn. Despite the grim future that these films set up, there's still glimmers of hope in them. Empathy can still exist, even as you struggle to survive in a city full of greed and prejudice. While it's unknown if Skynet can be prevented, it can be endured and fought against. Humanity lives on through our sacrifices and our creations.